And we're back right before early signing day. Listen, we are going to be exhausted, ready to get some sleep, probably tired of recording videos by the end of Christmas because, listen, early signing day does not need to be on the week of Christmas. I'm going to be honest. It's too many videos to make with family coming in town and everything else. But to each his own. Today, I'm joined by Drew England with the Under Official Review podcast and Jay with Unfair Sports. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good.
What's going on?
You guys ready to talk some early signing day Oklahoma football?
Always.
A lot going on, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a humdinger.
In the words of Hayes Fawcett, it's going to be crazy.
It is. It's going to be
So
crazy. So, and it looks like Boomer wants to make an appearance over here.
there
He
you
sees the
go.
camera is on. So, well, let's just go ahead and start off with it. David Hicks, I know all OU fans, listen, they want to ride this train as long as they possibly can. As long as he has not signed on the paper, we believe we have a shot, which, I mean, OU's probably got a pretty good shot, good relationship with Todd Bates and the staff here. But ultimately, it looks like probably David Hicks will end up being an Aggie, will not end up flipping to OU. Just from everything it seems like, I think really the biggest piece to fall is Damian Sanford. If you land Sanford, you probably get Hicks. So, Drew, we'll start with you, and then we'll just move on down to Jay.
Well, the interesting part is about the whole Hicks saga. It's been like a soap opera. So when he was making his initial commitment, was that like September, October, or something like that? Everybody, all signs pointed to OU, and then right there, the 10 minutes before he was signing, boom, I'm going to A&M. Announces it on ESPN. I'm going to A&M. So we were like, all right, well, we're out of that one. Okay, let's move on, all that stuff. But then you started seeing all this smoke build back up and started getting some tread on the tires once again. It's like that old ex-girlfriend. You're like, all right, man, do I still like her? Yeah. All right, well, she's committed somewhere else. And then you find out, well, maybe it's not going so well over there, or something's going on. Then she kind of reels you back in, and once again, we've been reeled back in by the David Hicks recruiting. But I think at the end of the day, and another positive is that he's, supposedly not going to sign tomorrow on early signing day. He's going to wait until the Under Armour game or whatever it is. And so there's another positive, maybe, that we have some more time to keep trying. But for me, if you had to ask me, I still think it's pointing towards A&M. But hey, you never know at this point with the whole Hicks thing. So that's just my feelings right there with that.
No, I'm totally with you on that. I mean, the entire piece. He's a very highly coveted player, so it
Absolutely.
makes sense that he's going to get a ton of attention, and that's something that you would expect from someone like them. And then, of course, Texas A&M has been infamous for the way that they acquire their players, and so it's going to be a lot of stuff going on the back channeling and information back there. So for me, I kind of think that with Damian Sanford, just like you mentioned, PG, he's probably the most important piece in this puzzle. If he decides that Texas A&M isn't for him and Oklahoma gives him a better chance of playing, starting, or even just money itself, I can totally see Sanford coming in and Hicks deciding to follow. A lot of people were saying that that was one of the reasons why he picked A&M, just because of comfort. He wanted to go somewhere where he knew somebody, but at the same time, A&M's not very far from where he's at. I mean, he's in Katy, Texas. So it's what, like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive to get up there to College Station. And so that to me is probably more comforting for him than it is him having Sanford there. So if Sanford decides to, flip and choose Oklahoma, I don't think that's a guarantee for David Hicks. It will probably be a good thing, but I don't think it's a guarantee. But I do think that Oklahoma is still in the running for him, mainly because he's still in communication with Ty Bates. And so we can never rule him out in the long term. And a lot of people still have their crystal balls up for Oklahoma on Hicks. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, another
Yeah,
guy too. You're talking about D line. Another guy too, and the guy that's going to make his decision early signing day is Tassilia Kana. I know a lot of smoke was happening about Oklahoma. They were in a great spot, and they still are in a great spot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to raise any red flags, but once again, Coach Prime and Colorado reeling some guys in, really, really on the recruiting trail here. Um, making a push for Akana here in the later stages and late hours of this early signing period. So that one right there is going to be one, you're talking about D-line and stuff like that. That's one that I'm really going to be following closely when it comes to, D lineman and somebody that we could hopefully, put that recruitment to bed and really lock him up. That would be a great step in the right direction and continuing that momentum for a guy like Hicks, a guy like Stanford as well. So.
Yeah, if you lose out on Akana, you almost have to earn Hicks, right? You almost have to go get that commitment. The interesting thing about Akana is, and I know some of you guys might jump in the comments about this and be like, well, oh, Colorado, they just got in. Well, he announced his finalists, and, Louisville was not in his finalists, and he just took a visit there.
Yep.
So that's why you think, oh, well, this Colorado stuff, which we're not just thinking, like, we've heard things about how that visit went. It went pretty well, and it's closer to Utah. He didn't go back to Hawaii after playing a season in Utah to go
Yeah,
back
a lot of
home.
people
So
think that, yes, it says on his birth certificate he's from Hawaii. Utah is home for him. Like
yeah,
it's been home for a while. That's where he lives. He is from Utah. So that's his hometown. So yeah. And anytime Coach Sanders is in any kind of recruitment, they always have a fighting chance, as we've covered. And I know, Jay, you've done some videos on Colorado and their ability to recruit anytime Prime is on a recruiting trail and talking to a kid. He's got a puncher's chance. Absolutely. So nobody's out of reach for Coach Prime.
yeah, nobody's out of reach, and I'll be dropping a video on that later about the potential recruits that I've heard that they could land, and they've got a pretty solid class. Now, it might be right now made up a lot of 3 stars, but they're in on a lot of 4 and 5-star recruitments that potentially could sway their way. And what I'm about to say goes the same way for Oklahoma and any other team. Players have a chance to sign here on the 21st, but for the players that don't sign somewhere on the 21st, even if they're crystal ball to go to that place, all of a sudden that recruitment is wide open.
Yep.
Because if they're sold on the place, why would they wait longer?
Exactly.
Right? Put
That's a
pen to the
great point.
paper. So even if they've said they're committed or they've got the crystal ball somewhere, Oklahoma has a shot, Colorado has a shot, Alabama's got a shot.
And back to the point about Hicks, he doesn't sign tomorrow. It gives Oklahoma and Todd Bates more of an opportunity to build that relationship, because then you're like, all right, well, why is he gonna just not sign with A&M? Is he completely sold? And so that's another encouraging thing if you don't see David Hicks sign tomorrow, or he may just be throwing the smoke up like he did in his ESPN commitment. So you never know, man. It could be hey, I'm just messing with him and I'm just gonna go ahead and sign with A&M, or hey, I'm going to keep this thing going. But the longer it goes, the better chance Oklahoma has for that one, for sure.
Imagine an early signing day where David Hicks commits to Colorado.
Hey.
That'd be hilarious. Unrealistic, but it'd be hilarious.
Travis Hunter 2.0. Travis Hunter 2.0 right there.
Speaking of that one, that's going to be – I know we're talking OU, but that's going to be a good one. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't need no Colorado fans jumping in on this video telling me that I'm off my rocker for thinking that Travis Hunter ain't going to go to Colorado.
For real.
So they get highly offended on that one.
But one guy we know is going to sign, and we're excited. We've been excited since July or whatever it was, but Jackson Arnold, really excited to get him going and getting him in. But that's one guy we are – I don't want to say 100% for certain, but 100% for certain. I think Jackson Arnold, that's going to be fun to finally get him, officially, signed on the dotted line after all the great things he's done and everything like that. And just being a great ambassador to OU recruiting. He's helped a lot of these guys, pointing them towards OU. And so that'll be good to get him in and getting him learning the system.
Listen, I don't know about you, but Notre Dame's got a good shot to flip Jackson Arnold, from what I hear.
PG, stop.
Jay don't think that's funny. Jay doesn't think that's funny.
Jay,
listen,
hey.
I think the one everybody's really excited for tomorrow is the announcement of Peyton Bowen, and where will he end up signing? Because sounds like Peyton Bowen really wants to be at Oklahoma. But it sounds like Dad really wants him to be at Oregon, and Mom really wants him to be at Notre Dame. If Jimbo had his say in it, he'd be an Aggie. Which, listen,
Yeah.
Peyton Bowen's taking visits
What does Eli want too? You got to ask him too. So you got it's a whole family affair.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know what's worse, the Bowen saga or the David Hicks saga. I mean,
Definitely the David Hicks.
I don't know though,
Because
Peyton
Bowen did not get on ESPN and completely flip everybody's minds and everything like that, and just could totally throw them for a loop and say you're going to OU, all that, and the coaches didn't know until 10 or 15 minutes before he got on and made the decision. So I would say definitely Peyton or David Hicks, but I mean, hey, depending on what happens tomorrow, could be Peyton Bowen. So
could be Peyton Bowen. Jay, what do you think about Peyton Bowen? How are you feeling?
Honestly, I'm leaning heavy Oklahoma as well. Just the way that everybody's pointing at it now. Of course, crystal balls aren't 100%, but when Wilt Fong drops one, he bats at the 900 realm, almost close to 1,000. And so because of that, it's probably something to take to the bank. I mean, one of his biggest misses was David Hicks to Oklahoma, and that coming at the 10th hour. In that entire recruiting cycle. So, I mean, I honestly think that Bowen's going to end up picking Oklahoma. It doesn't sound like Notre Dame really has a fighting chance in this, even though everyone's reporting that, the conversations are going very well. What it sounds like to me is that he has a very hard time telling people no. And he's just one of those kids that is just too nice.
Yeah,
and he's just like,
you know my answer.
He's like, I'm still trying to figure it out, because at the same time, this is a very high profile recruiting cycle for him.
Yeah,
Oklahoma is literally the perfect scenario. It's close to home. His girlfriend signed there to play soccer, and one of his best friends, his current quarterback, is going to play there and lead the school for a while. That's tough for you to make that decision. And Notre Dame, great education. Can't knock that. But a degree is a degree. I mean, the biggest thing is going to be the alumni base and where you get connections from there. And I know Oklahoma people with Oklahoma degrees all over the world. So it's not like a degree from Notre Dame just changes you that much, especially as an athlete. The bigger thing with that is the connections and stuff. And there's a ton of connections everywhere. And with Peyton Bowen, he's probably going to go pro. He's more built to be a professional athlete than anything. And yeah, Notre Dame has put out some safeties over the last couple of years. They've got like 3 in the NFL right now. Oklahoma has as well in the past. And under the Brent Venables regime, they put out some solid safeties that's played in the pros. And so I can see Peyton coming to Oklahoma mainly because it's close. His girlfriend's there. Jackson Arnold is there, and making that home. It's going to be tough for me to go against Wilt Fong on this one.
Where do you, and for this question too, and I know we heard a little bit of smoke about Oregon. What do you guys think about that? And do they even are they even still in play for that?
Oh no, I think they're in a great position for one, David Hicks, but 2, Peyton Bowen. Oregon, I would say they're the Oklahoma of the West, because they're consistently up there.
You mean not USC?
Nah, definitely not them. They're not there yet. But no, like Oregon is consistently. Oregon's consistently one of those teams that's just good, right? Yeah. Like Oklahoma. And every once in a while, you'll see them try to go out there and compete for a championship. Now, hopefully with Oklahoma, that changes. Hopefully they're competing for it every single year. But no, I think they put themselves in a good position for both. I don't think they land Bowen. I think it's too far away. Yeah. But you never know.
You have Phil Knight in your back pocket doing some work for you too, you're always in with some guys as well. There's still that appeal and that draw to come out to Eugene, because having a different jersey every game appeals to guys. So
yeah, I think the telling tale though of how Oregon's in a good spot is literally right before all the in-home visits were supposed to be done. Peyton Bowen almost took a visit to Oregon on the weekend that Brent Venables was supposed to be coming on his in-home visit. Luckily that got canceled and Venables was able to go to that. But that's how he's in a good that Oregon's in a good spot, because they almost landed him that weekend for a visit, which would have probably thrown a huge wrench in Oklahoma and Notre Dame's plans. I'll say this: I'll feel a lot more confident about the Bowen commitment if Tom Loy decides to flip his crystal ball. I know that Wilt Fong is just undefeated, but here's my thing: when you still have insiders like a Cody Nagel with OSU, or a Tom Loy over at Notre Dame, or Brandon Drum or Park Thune with Oklahoma, if they still think the guy is committed to them and they're not willing to flip their crystal ball yet, then obviously they know something, right? Then that means they still feel like they have a puncher's chance. The moment that you see them flip their crystal balls, it's waving the white flag. And so far, Tom Loy has not done that. Tom Loy has stuck tried and true to his crystal ball, which that's the other thing about the crystal balls that I necessarily like. We've heard it so many times where Drum and Thune are not supposed to be putting in balls for somebody. And it's like kind of hurts their chances sometimes, because if they got them in for somebody to go somewhere and they can't flip it, then counts as a loss for them. Same thing for Fong. I mean, I bet it happens to Fong sometimes. So it's definitely something to watch and something interesting to see throughout the recruiting cycle. How do the home insiders choose to crystal ball you, and do they choose to flip them? So
Sure.
Yeah, like you said, Loy, in his most recent post, he said he's been at the edge of switching to Oklahoma, but new intel's making him feel like he should wait. And that to me tells me that he's gonna probably pick Oklahoma. If Lloyd thinks that, I need to switch mine with Wilt Fong as well as Brandon Drum, but because new intel has come in, you're going to get a bunch of intel that's going to come in of conversations they've had with the player. Because like I said, he seems like he's just really nice.
Yeah.
That's really it to me.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. Like, everybody else has made this a bigger scenario than he has, because he hasn't said anything. I think that's the most interesting thing about all of this, is that we're all hearing hearsay. We ain't heard a single thing from Peyton Bowen. Yep. Like, even with David Hicks, we're hearing from his dad that's talking about the stuff, and he's probably speaking for his kiddo because he's still trying to figure out what he really wants to do. But Peyton Bowen, it's been crickets from him, and really his camp. It's all the insiders and the sources and the sources on the sources really drumming this up. So it's become a lot more dramatic on him without him even trying to do that. He just hasn't said anything. And I appreciate the fact that he's just like, I'm going to wait to the end to make my decision, because for him, he is going to enroll early. So no matter which school he goes to, he'll be there in the spring. He'll be enrolled in January. And so for him, it's just now deciding, okay, which one do I want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think we're going to get a real telling tale tomorrow of how, does Peyton Bowen to have his decision made up? Because tomorrow when he goes to that table, and I'm assuming it's going to be hats, and the hats are sitting on the table, if he picks it up pretty quickly, or he's doing all these shenanigans where he's throwing them off, he knows where he wants to go. My question is, how long does it take him to actually pick up the hat that he wants to go to? Because I feel like Peyton Bowen might sit there for a second, and he might double think himself before he actually picks up the hat. So it's going to be interesting to watch, especially since I think a lot of people are saying that Peyton Bowen probably could be the best safety in this class. And I know you got Caleb Downs, top 10 player, committed to Alabama, but Peyton Bowen is that talent, because I think he's a little bit more talented, maybe at a little bit more positions than Caleb Downs. I know Caleb Downs played running back in high school, and he probably could be a 5-star running back if he was, decided to be a running back in this class. But I think Peyton Bowen, a lot of people are saying he could be the best safety. I think he probably is the best safety in this class. Probably
you
one of the
also
top
get
3
a
DBs.
great guy in the return game too, as well.
Yeah,
kind
of like
guy.
Yeah, kind of like what you have with what's his name? I can't think of his name at the moment. The other safety that we have at the moment,
Billy Bowman.
And
they're both from Denton. So
yeah, they're both from Denton. One actually went to Denton High School. One of them went to Denton Geyer. So
Denton Ryan and Denton Geyer.
Yep. So, but moving on to Jay's hot recruit of the season, Marcus Strong. Sounds like OU is in a pretty good spot for him. Jay, what do you think about Marcus Strong?
Hey, man, I've been hot on this dude ever since we started talking about him after the Colton Vasek flip. He looks like he's been under recruited and underrated. The big thing about him is, with his name being Marcus Strong, dude got some strong hands, and that's pun intended. And watching his film, the dude grabs kids like a toddler grabs a toy, and you can't pry their little hands off of it or something they ain't supposed to have. If anybody's been around toddlers and kids, you understand exactly what I'm saying. That's how strong his hands are when he be snatching up folks. And that's kind of what we need, is someone that can get a hold of some of these shifty running backs we deal with in the Big 12 and hold on to them for dear life until everybody else can come through and put the finishing touches on them or finish them off themselves. So looking at the intel, it looks like we do have a really good chance and we're in a really good spot with Marcus. I expect him to end up picking the Sooners, coming to Norman and showing out. I think he can be a special talent in the rotation. I still have my one favorite player out of everybody in the class, and we'll talk about that a little later, but I do really think that Marcus Strong will end up in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Marcus Strong is going to be able to provide some much-needed size to that defensive line, and I think a lot of what the Sooners were missing this year. Drew, what's your thought on Marcus Strong?
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think we feel like we're in a good spot with him. And like Jay said, everything right there, he's got the intangibles, everything to be a good fit for our program and for our defense, and would be really, really, really good to see him sign with us and get him in here and get him going, because that's adds another depth, a piece of depth to what we're trying to do on defense, and just a good fit, I think, schematically for Venables and that defense. So I like it. Hope we're able to get him.
Yes, and then the only other guy that I expect to maybe see signing as a Sooner, potentially as a preferred walk-on, would be Landon Sides. 247 has him ranked as a 3-star, but he is still not ranked in the composite. Being Jackson Arnold's favorite target at Denton Geyer, one of the things that I think is interesting about some of these Geyer kids is I think some of them are underrated, because they're having, the Denton Geyer team is just so talented that I think it's so easy a lot of the time to say, oh, well, they're having success because their team is so talented. And I feel like Landon Sides maybe is having a little bit of that hit him right now, where it's like, yeah, he's got a 5-star quarterback in Jackson Arnold throwing to him. And so, yeah, I think the kid's a little underrated, but I think he could be a guy that comes in, especially to the wide receiver room for Oklahoma next year, especially with the news that we might be missing out on Tees, where you're starting to see the crystal balls flow in for him to go to A&M. Having Sides potentially come in and be that wide receiver that you were potentially going to lose with Anthony Evans is a big win. Target for Arnold. I think it's a good, and he runs a pretty fast 100. So,
yeah.
Drew, what's your thoughts on Landon Sides?
Yeah, to go on to your point, I think it's just another, if we're able to get, and I think defensive guys, solid defensive commits is what we need right now. And to get another guy like that, and we were talking, about Strong and those type of kids, they don't come around too often. And anytime you have the opportunity to set your sights on them and get them to sign, moving forward, you need guys like that going into the SEC. So. It'd be another really good pickup for Oklahoma. And another dude too that I want to talk about to stay around the Denton area, another Denton Ryan kid, Caleb Hicks, would be another good addition to the running back room, and I'm excited to see his future for Oklahoma as well. I know we're talking about a lot of these guys, and rightfully so, they're up there, but a guy, a 3-star, probably should be a 4-star, who's got size. He's 5'11", about 200 pounds. Can run the rock. He's quick. He's got, that versatility. Hicks is a guy, the Hicks that we're for sure probably going to land. I'm excited about him too, just to kind of piggyback off of some guys that you guys are watching. But for me, Caleb Hicks from Denton is one that I'm pretty pumped about.
Well, let's move into this a little bit. I want to hear, who are you guys most excited to see in terms of a recruit in this 2023 class? And, I'll start with it. The guys on the radio today, they talked about Petaway, especially in the special teams, and how, he could make a huge impact there. And I agree with exactly everything they said today. Extremely undervalued wide receiver in this class. And, ultimately I see that with a lot of guys that Oklahoma picked up. Oklahoma picked up a lot of guys that were maybe just undervalued this year in terms of the rankings. But in terms of a guy that I'm just really excited to see, I'm really excited to see what Samuel Omosigo is going to be able to do in his career at Oklahoma. He's the 4-star linebacker. He's 6'1", 208 pounds. I feel like this kid's able to put on probably another 25, 30 pounds. He's going to be a tremendous linebacker, I feel like, in Venables' system. And I really like what he's going to be able to bring to the Sooners in 2023. So I'll let you go, Drew, and then we'll let Jay go after that.
Yeah, so two guys that I said Hicks, but probably the most that I'm excited to see, and a guy who has really kind of kept the trajectory going is PJ Adebawore. I love this kid, man. Got a motor, unbelievable hands. He's got great technique. Need more guys to rush the passer. Very long, 6'4", about 250, somewhere right there. And he number one recruit in the state of Missouri, and number 4 at his position, 5-star recruit. I think a lot of people, yes, are talking about Jackson Arnold, talking about Peyton Bowen, but a guy that I really am excited to see is PJ Adebawore. And then another kid that I like offense too, because I'm an offensive coach. Hicks, but another guy that I really, really am excited to see is Dalen Smothers from Charlotte, another back that's could come in and help us with versatility. In that room, you're obviously going to get Javante Barnes. Is probably going to be the guy that's going to be your quote featured back coming out, but you got a lot of speed, a lot of talent, and guys that could really, really help out the offense next year. And you could have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch back there in the backfield. Who knows? But those are some guys that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, so for me, kind of like Drew here. So I think one thing to look at about this team is that we've got 7 players in the top 100.
Yep.
On the composite. That's huge. That means that this class has a ton of talent. But the 2 players that really I'm the most stoked about is number 1, PJ Adebawore. He's probably the one person in the class he's my number 1 guy.
Yep.
Top number 1 in the state, of course. But that 6'4", 240 frame.
Yep.
He's only played football for what, 2 years?
Yep.
And he's absurd.
Yep.
He reminds me of Javon Curse. I talked about this a few times.
That's a great
streams, but he reminds me of Javon Curse. He's got that freakish athlete ability, big. He has a 7-foot wingspan at 6'4". So he's got the long arms, he's got the big hands, and he's got the technique to get around people. He's absurdly athletic, and once someone helps him to polish his game, dude's going to be a monster on the edge side. Honestly, I think he can come in there and start taking somebody's jobs just because I know he's a freak of nature out there. So I'm really stoked to see him get out there and play. He's my number 1. And honestly, my number 2 is still on the defensive side, especially because this class is heavy on the defense. Offensively, we've always recruited really good players. Jaquez Petaway is going to be a monster at receiver, being a top 70 player in the country. He's going to be really good. He's fast. He's going to do everything that we missed from Anthony Evans. It would have been nice to have both, but at the same time, we got Petaway, and Petaway's going to come up there, and he's going to wreck shop. But the dude that I'm really excited about is Makari Seatbelt Vickers. At safety, I know we talk about Peyton Bowen a lot. I think Seatbelt's got a lot of dog in him, and I think he's going to be somebody. He's going to be absurdly talented. And
a taller safety too, something that we haven't done a good job of recruiting in the past. 6'1", 6'2" guy, big safety in the back end. That's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm stoked to see what Vickers does out there. In the return, as actually at the safety spot, I could see him going strong. Peyton at the free a couple of years down the line once all these Tulsa boys start to rotate out. But yeah,
hey, now we never
gonna be crazy.
Out. We're 918 strong, boy.
Well, I mean, once they graduate or they go pro early, you can't
get another. We get bringing them in. We got talent
Well,
up here.
I say that. I'll say this. I don't think that we're gonna find anybody that's gonna replace a young player that's gonna replace Bowen and Vickers.
Yeah,
Once they get in the
I don't
rotation,
have any on
but
the radar yet, but I'll keep
yeah,
my
but we'll
eyes
have talent. We'll have talent coming,
Yeah.
but I don't think we'll have anybody replace those. I think those two are going to be special with each other. But like right now,
Absolutely.
we've got Robert Spears Jennings that's going to be doing some things in Jaden Rowe. Both of them are going to be monstrous once they really get some playing time. So yeah, I really am excited about Vickers.
Well, and then you can add, some of these transfers of some guy like Kendall Dalby, some of these other guys in that defensive backfield that we could potentially be looking at some really solid back end players on the defensive side here for a couple years to come. So a lot of great talent, like Jay was saying, in this class. You got some transfer guys, you got some JUCO guys coming in. It could really be good for our defense, especially in when you're talking DBs.
All right. Well, I want to move on to one more thing before we let y'all go for the night. Top 5 flips in 2023 so far that we have. So I saw On3 put this out, and I thought it was an interesting little topic. I want to hear from you guys. What are maybe some of your top 5 flips that you've had that have happened this season? I think for me personally, you got to put Caden Proctor, which just happened today, up there at the top for Alabama. That one's huge. Like, he might be the best tackle in this class, which now I know the kid, and I'm not even going to try to say his name because I know I ain't going to be able to get it, down at Miami could give him a run for that. But ultimately, I think Caden's probably the biggest one. What are some of the biggest flips that you guys have this year?
Jay, go ahead.
Were you talking about Cormani?
No, I'm talking about Caden Proctor. They have Francis. I don't even know how to say his last name. Mui Goal.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm
I gotta see his name so I can pronounce it properly. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
No, flip wise, man. Honestly, Dante Moore is probably the bigger one to me.
Oh,
like
that's a good one.
going from what Oregon to UCLA. I mean, Chip Kelly's doing some stuff, and I think that's something that it needs to get recognition more. It took some time, and the one thing I appreciate about UCLA's approach is that we're going to give you some time to really redo everything at the school. We're not going to rush you. We're not going to force your hand. Every year we've seen progress. So as long as we maintain progress and start and have some winning seasons, we're not going to trip out. Kind of like the Stanford approach, which was really good for them. That was a great thing to keep Chip Kelly around. And now he's starting to look like he's going to build some of these teams like he had at Oregon in the past. And him being able to steal Dante Moore like that was huge. I remember, PG, when you texted me about it, I was like, all right, well, let me know when he flips. Because I've been hearing rumors about players flipping like crazy and none of them do it. And so I proceed with I'm cautiously optimistic about that kind of stuff, just because a lot of it, if it ain't the player saying it, it's these sources. It's hard to just pinpoint what's actually going to happen until it truly goes down. And the Dante Moore one was still kind of shocking, because I don't even think really anybody put in a crystal ball like heavily on him actually making that flip. But
it was mainly On3 that had really put in the watch.
Right, they put predictions in, and that was it. They were the only ones. I didn't see a future cast from Rivals. I didn't see any crystal balls from 24/7 really. So I was shocked to see that move happen. But at the same time, hey man, that tells you what Chip Kelly's doing out there. He's doing some special stuff.
He is. I would probably agree with you there. Thinking about it, yeah, Dante Moore probably another one, but some ones that are not flips, but guys that'll be interesting to see where they end up. Some transfer portal guys that I'll be interested to see, because I thought DJU was going to go to UCLA, but now with Dante going out there, I don't know if he ends up out there, but he's one to watch. And then obviously one guy that I didn't expect, who was not really a flip, but the NC State quarterback going to Kentucky. That's a really great fit, I think, there. So not really a flip, but just some guys that I I tend to watch the transfer portal and see where some of these guys end up and all that. But yeah, Moore certainly I think is up there in the top 5 flips, and then depending on where David Hicks ends up signing, could be another one. And then if Peyton Bowen, if you want to call him a flip, you could chuck his name in there too as well. So
yeah, listen,
another one.
OU could dominate the biggest decommitments and flips of the season because you talked about Dante Moore, Jay, but what about Malachi Nelson? And I know that was a long time ago, but Malachi Nelson, the top ranked the third ranked quarterback in this class
at the time.
Nico. Yeah. Malachi Nelson is I think I've told you guys, I think he's a transcendent talent. I think he's really good. I think he's probably the best quarterback in this class, in my opinion. Maybe Jackson Arnold might be right behind him. But that was a huge decommitment for Oklahoma because that really shaped what their class was going to look like. I'd probably put Dante Moore right behind him. Keon Keeley at number 3.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Keeley's a big one.
You have Ruben Owens to A&M.
Yes, that was the one I was going to say.
Yeah,
I think the Ruben Owens ones was huge, seeing that jump. And to be honest, on the Malachi one, I don't think that one's a big one, only because he followed his coach.
Yep.
The coach that recruited him.
And here's the thing to consider is he decommits and goes to USC, we never would get Jackson Arnold.
True.
Correct.
True.
So it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. I would take Jackson over Malachi.
Yep, I agree.
And this is one reason why I would do that. Is the exact reason why Jackson Arnold is coming to Oklahoma, and he followed Lebby because Jackson was probably going to end up at Ole Miss if Lebby was still there because they run the same offense at Denton Guyer as they do here at Oklahoma. So the only difference is verbiage. And so when Jackson walks in, he's going to have a head start on anybody else because he already knows the offense. Everything's the same. They look for the same ratios down there as we do here. It's a little bit more. We add additional layers to it to make it a little bit more complex. But his head coach worked with Lebby for years. So because they know each other, they run similar sets. Yeah, it's going to be so much easier for him to walk in. And that's kind of like what I was talking about. And we talked about in the green room that Jackson has a good chance of pulling like a Trevor Lawrence and walking in and taking the job a few games in because he'll know everything about it, and he's very mobile. So he can do a combination of pass and run. Now, Malachi, I think he's a transcendent talent. He'll do fantastic in the Lincoln Riley system.
He could be and I'm not by any means, so people don't freaking crucify me in the comments. He could be a little undersized Josh Allen before it's all said and done. With that skill set, the ability to run a little bit, dual threat like that, the ability to throw the ball, big time arm talent, could potentially be a Josh Allen type of player moving forward. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Josh Allen, but that's kind of a comparison that I could potentially see
for Jackson Arnold.
Yep.
Honestly, I think that's a little extreme, only because of just how big and physical.
That's what I'm saying. A little undersized.
Josh Allen is.
Yeah.
I'd give him more of a Joe Burrow. I think he could be a Joe Burrow. He's got the accuracy.
Can't run like they can.
He could in college, but he just didn't have to. He didn't have to. I mean, when you got those monsters receivers, you got at LSU.
Off the layer too, and then try to run it down the field. So.
Exactly.
LSU didn't even just have those monster receivers.
Yeah, but he can't run away from people though, like Jackson Arnold can.
Oh no, Jackson's got a little bit more athletic. I'd say he's more athletic Joe Burrow.
It's a little bit of a Josh Allen comparison.
I don't think he's as physical as Josh though.
No,
that's the only reason why I say because that's really Josh Allen's game. Is just that he's Cam Newton. He's literally Cam Newton with more accuracy at this age.
He's got better fashion.
That's debatable. It depends on who likes what. So fashion is subjective. So I will say that fashion is subjective. I'm not a Cam Newton fashion guy, but fashion is subjective. So I'll say that. But no, I think that but I do like what Jackson Arnold's going to bring to the table with his athleticism. I mean, hell, he's probably a more athletic Baker Mayfield if you really think about it. Yeah, and Baker could scoop.
Hopefully, he doesn't have a pro career like Baker does, but
yeah, we'll see.
Baker's did he win last night?
No.
Ah, dang! I was hoping he'd be.
They weren't going to win that game. They're too injured. That team is too
Yeah, they're
depleted for
banged
them for him to win anything.
We give another excuse to Baker.
Drew, we know you don't like Baker.
That's kind of the truth, though. I mean,
True.
he's in a stable organization now.
Yeah.
He is in a stable organization, and I kind of like the fit with Sean because Sean reminds me a lot of Lincoln Riley in the way that he runs his offense.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think Baker could potentially fit really well with the Rams. Maybe find himself a more permanent home.
Yeah, I would love that.
He's not gonna beat out Matthew Stafford.
Stafford's done.
Getting old. He's old.
Yeah,
Stafford's done. I think his career might be over.
He could be, yeah. But
they were talking about his spine. That spinal injury is potentially career ending.
Yeah, and here's the thing: even if the Rams get a quarterback this class, why would you play him next year? Let the quarterback sit behind Baker, and you never know. Baker might show out and start out next year, and then you've got a longer opportunity for your quarterback to sit there. And
they're not getting a quarterback They're not getting a quarterback this draft though.
So
their pick is gone to Detroit.
So hopefully,
I forgot
in the Stafford trade
because they traded them all away.
They traded their picks away. So that's why Baker's there. Baker, and as we go into the Baker conversation, Baker's there specifically because they want to see what he can do. And if they feel like he's a good opportunity to move forward with until they can get a better pick later, then he's going to be a bridge player, which I don't think is a problem, especially with McVay, because McVay's offense is the quarterback anyway. That's kind of like him and how Kyle Shanahan runs their offenses. They're the quarterback. The quarterback is just there to actually physically throw the ball. They tell you where to go. They give you all the sets, and they're so creative with it. Just like you said, perfect comparison with Lincoln Riley is that the offense is simple enough that he can tell you, hey, based upon this set, throw it here. I promise you the guy be open, and every time the guys are butt naked open.
Yep.
So
well, I hope he's got one more chance. So hope he makes good on this one.
I hope so too. I would like to be able to get a permanent Baker jersey.
Hey, I'm pulling for Baker.
I know. You don't like Baker. It's okay.
Hey,
we'll
it's not that I don't like him. I'm a realist.
We'll just let the Sooner fans. Hey, is it Baker's fault or is it Lincoln Riley's fault for not being able to enable these quarterbacks to go be great in the NFL?
Ooh,
it's a good question.
I mean,
it's fair question.
I mean, if you want my opinion on it, coaching matters at that level,
absolutely,
especially in the NFL. And if you don't have stability, you're not going to be good.
Yep.
You can't go through 5 coordinators in 5 years.
You got so many different factors as well. Offensive line, playmakers around you, scheme, all that stuff. So, but, it's
no quarterback at the talent level of Baker Mayfield in 5 years. Alex Smith was a great example of that too. He went through 7 and 8. And when he got to Andy Reid, he got stability. Guess what? He was really good. Only thing that sucked for him is Patrick Mahomes was on the bench.
that was the only thing.
That was it. Yeah, that was a little bit.
You don't start Alex Smith over Patrick Mahomes the second year. First year, yes. Second year, no.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've got an interesting one for you guys. Top 5 OU quarterbacks of all time. Since we're talking about Baker Mayfield, this is just. I was thinking about this the other night while I was laying in bed. And this is a hard conversation because there's been a lot of them. But I'm
gonna go modern. Make it modern.
Do you have to go like number in order, or you just?
No, yeah, I want them in order. I want them in order, and I can give you mine because I've actually put a lot of thought into this. And I would go Sam Bradford number 1, just because even out of the more modern quarterbacks that we've had, I think if Sam Bradford wouldn't have gotten hurt. I mean, look at what this man did in the time that he did play here. Like, Sam Bradford could be one of the great, if not the greatest college football quarterback of all time. Like, he was that good, and he could have been that good in the NFL. And then additionally for number 2, I would put Baker Mayfield. He did everything for Oklahoma. He, I think, transcended that quarterback position for Oklahoma and what we expect from there. And then I would put Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts as your backups. But then at number 5, I've got Landry Jones, because Landry Jones was just, I know nobody likes Landry Jones, just like you don't like Baker Mayfield, but I love Landry, and I thought he was a really good, serviceable quarterback for OU. And, maybe if you would just had a better offensive scheme around him, you potentially could have had something a little bit better. But that's who I got as my top 5 OU quarterbacks of all time. And I mean, I really don't know if
it's not a bad list. It's not a bad list. I would not.
I have Jason White and Heupel right on the edge of making the 5.
You first of all, I got to put Josh Heupel in it because he won a national championship. Like, he, out of all those quarterbacks you're talking about, he kind of set the tone for this modern, type of offense. So I put him at 5. Put Josh Heupel at 5. Okay. Believe it or not, I would probably, if we're just going modern, I'd probably put Landry Jones at 4 just because of the records and everything that he did and the way he was able to manage everything like that. So probably 4. I would put Baker at 3 just because of, again, his career, what he's done, stuff like that. Actually, I'd probably have a tie at 5. Kyler, 1 year, yes, he won the Heisman, everything like that. So I'd probably him and Heupel at 5 just because of, right there. But number 2, I would have Sam Bradford, and number 1, the best deep ball thrower of all time, Jason White. So I got Jason White at number 1.
Now, I could change it for you, though, and make it easier. I could say the quarterback has to play more than 1 year at the University of Oklahoma because Kyler Murray
that's the only reason I don't
Jalen
have
Hurts
Kyler in that top 5 because
Kyler played 2 years.
Yeah.
He just didn't start for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to be more than a 1-year starter. And if that's the case, right, because obviously Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray were great quarterbacks, especially go look at what they did and just how efficient they were.
But if you're talking the whole encompassing, that's just kind of quick, off the dome. If I really had time to break it down and do
then
it,
at
but
that
I feel
point,
good about that 5. So,
yeah, at that point, I would put, if you had to take the 1-year starters out, I would put Bradford, Baker, Landry, White, and actually, I might go Holloway.
Yeah, if you're talking wishbone quarterbacks, Jamel Holloway is the best wishbone quarterback in the history of college football.
Yep.
But if you're talking modern,
I'm going 99. I'm going Bob Stoops forward. Personally.
Or if you're talking about guys that purely won, Steve Davis lost 2 games his whole career at OU, won 2 national championships.
Yeah,
so,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, but if you're talking just modern, what people would mostly remember, yeah,
and that's
Jamel
why
Holloway's up there. J.C. Watts was a heck of a quarterback. I mean, we've had, so many, Jack Mildred back in the day, who started the wishbone for us, stuff like that. I mean, you got, you could put Troy Aikman in. No.
That's why I don't think you can really use the national championship. I mean, that can't be your sole factor of putting somebody in there.
Yeah, but he set the tone for years to come. And Josh, for 2 years, I mean, was that?
I don't know.
I put him.
Personally, I don't think it was Josh. I think it was the defense. That's just me.
But
20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions.
You got to score points.
That was his Heisman Trophy season.
He should have won the Heisman.
Nah, he not do winking.
Jay, we haven't heard from you yet. Give us yours.
Yeah, man, I was being quiet. Let y'all go back and forth on it. So me, if I'm gonna go 99 forward, the Bob Stoops era, I agree. I would put Jason White at 5. He was surgical with his passing ability. He was very surgical. It's just his knees needed a lot of surgery too, and that kind of hurt his ability to be even better than what he was. But he did win a Heisman. Number 4, I would go Jalen Hurts. Just the 1 year of coming here and having the actual opportunity to throw the ball, whereas Alabama, when he got there, they weren't really a throwing team yet. Absurd. And as you can see what he's doing in NFL, they should have let him throw years ago. He should have been the one that ushered in the throwing era instead of Tua, but I digress. Number 3, I'm going to give it to Kyler Murray, just because he is hands down the greatest athlete. Statistically, he's absurd. His ability was absurd. And he did great here. We just didn't have a defense. Number 2, I would definitely give it to Baker. And then Sam Bradford was my number 1. And the only reason why I don't have Heupel in there before is Heupel did a great job of maintaining things and doing it and leading the way. That defense was absurd. That 20 touchdown, 15 interception ratio was just a little too high for me to want to put him in the top 5, but I do have him at number 6. Now, Landry Jones, I thought Jones was solid, but Landry Jones was a product of Josh Heupel's recruiting
Tempo, yeah.
and he wasn't a world beater like everybody else we had. Heupel was enough of a world beater. He could make things happen. Same thing with Jason White. Hell, Rent Bomar. Y'all remember him?
Oh, that man should have been way more than what he was.
He's one of the highest rated players we'd ever recruited too. That makes even
number 5 or 6. Yeah.
Gross, Rhett Bomar. But no, going through all of them, I put Heupel at 6 right behind White, but him and White were absurd. Just the sheer numbers that the other guys were able to put up.
Y'all just the disrespect for Jason White is unbelievable between y'all two. How could you have that man at 5? The best deep ball thrower ever in the history of Oklahoma.
I like Sam. I like Baker. Baker's the most accurate quarterback we've ever had. Kyler is the best runner. Jalen was a dual threat. The unfortunate thing is he did a lot more running than he should have.
I don't know. So, I would put Jamel Holloway and J.C. Watts up there too.
Did they really throw the ball back then?
That's what I'm saying. Runner. You said runner.
Okay,
I
so
said
Jay,
dual
give
threat.
us your best non-1-year quarterback, because I actually got to thinking about it, and there's a lot of 1-year quarterbacks at Oklahoma. So
Kyler Murray, hands down.
Yeah. So give us your best non-1-year starter quarterback top 5 list.
One that's so I've got to eliminate Hurts. So they got to start more than one season. So Hurts and Kyler are out.
Hurts, Kyler, Troy Aikman's out too, I think, at that point, right?
Yep, Aikman's out.
Yep.
So number 1 remains Sam Bradford. Number 2 would be Baker still. I'd move White to 3, Heupel to 4. I'm trying to think who else has actually started more than one season. It would probably have to be either Nate Hibble or Landry Jones. I'd probably put Landry there.
That is a very underrated quarterback right there.
Yeah, Nate Hibble was terrible.
He's very underrated. The dude won a Rose Bowl. Give him
what about Cody Thomas?
Knight did too.
Y'all gonna forget about Cody Thomas or Dean Blevins?
Or Sugar Bowl.
What about Dean Blevins? Y'all gonna forget about him? J.C. Watts.
Dean Blevins was a backup. So
what about J.C. Watts?
JC was up. I already mentioned JC, the congressman, man.
I'm post 99 on mine.
Yeah,
post 99.
That's what I'm saying. If you're talking about other quarterbacks, I can get my.
If we're going further back, then yeah, the conversation gets way more convoluted. There's a lot more more factors to put in there.
Oh yeah,
like Holloway is it. I mean, he's the best wishbone quarterback.
He won a national championship as a true freshman. Like. They had a good defense too, but I mean that offense was that wishbone offense, and you had guys like, unbelievable, talent on, running that, and it was just he was the perfect guy to run the wishbone.
Now, where does Spencer Rattler rank in the top 10 for you guys? Does he rank in the top 10 at all of OU quarterbacks?
He's right there on the cut line.
What about Caleb Williams?
1-year starters, yeah, he's up there. He's right there on the
easily.
cut line.
Now, if Caleb Williams would have taken OU to win a national championship next year or last year, where would you put him? Top 5 at that point?
Nah, I wouldn't put him top 5.
Even if he won a national championship last year.
National championships are team awards. And
Caleb was a single-handed win last year. I mean, if it wasn't for Caleb Williams,
he was this year for USC too.
Yeah, and he was there for USC too. But that comes limited. That's the reason why it's very hard to do that. Now, I mean, he's not Cam Newton. Let's put it like that.
Yet,
he won't be.
He's not going to be Cam.
He's not Cam. Cam is a one-man wrecking crew for the whole team. Caleb has NFL talent around him. Cam had one NFL player on the defensive side. And that tells you everything you need to know about the way that he performed in that season. It was absurd how good he was.
Yeah.
It was a video game. It's like you would do on NCAA. You have your quarterback to do everything.
Hey, here's a trivia question for y'all. Which OU quarterback has the most wins in school history?
Landry Jones.
Yep. 39.
Landry Jones holds almost all the records.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an indictment on the recruiting ability of the coaching staff at that time.
Well, you had sure-handed Ryan Broyles caught everything.
Nope, 100% right.
Him and Kenny Stills, that 1-2 punch right there was pretty darn good.
So what's harder? What's a harder conversation? Greatest OU quarterbacks or greatest OU wide receivers?
You talking about like
The hardest list to compile.
choosing?
Yeah, hardest list to compile. Because OU's had some pretty damn good wide receivers.
It's
Running backs and wide receivers will be a lot harder than quarterback.
Yeah, wide receivers are a lot harder to compile.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think the running backs are that hard. I think the running
backs are not hard. No.
Yeah, I think
because
the running
you got
backs.
so many, but receiver, you'd almost have to do it modern era because we didn't throw the ball until the 90s. So
that's why I say it's hard with running backs too, is because back then with all the running that they was doing, you had a lot of guys that in the modern era putting up numbers kind of like the guys back in the Wishbone era.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, who doesn't put Adrian Peterson up there at the top?
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's number one. I think you look at it and go Billy Sims number two. I really like Billy Sims. At number three, I'd put DeMarco Murray. Number four, I go P. Ryan.
High.
I got number four, I go P. Ryan. And then at number five, I go Joe Washington. I think I think the running backs are pretty simple.
I mean, Steve Owens is still on this list to talk about. Quentin Griffin.
Yeah, Quentin Griffin was pretty good.
Hell, even Damon Parker, Tulsa boy. Go Booker T.
I really like Joe Washington and I really like Billy Sims. I think it's hard to lead those guys out.
I mean, you still have Greg Pruitt, Thomas Lott. I mean, there's still some great.
There's so many names.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the top 20 in yards, I'm just like, good God, Oklahoma's had.
I mean, you got to put.
Good running backs.
I mean, if you're strictly just going off of stats, Samaje Perine's got to be at the top.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have P. Ryan at number three because I mean statistically he was I think one of our best. He is our best quarterback in terms of yardage. I mean, not by much. You know, he's 4 yards more than Billy Sims. But
you've got him. I mean, he beat Billy Sims by 3 yards. So
yeah, Billy but Sims. and he had to do it on a lot more attempts, almost 100 more attempts.
Yeah, and Billy's got more. I mean, Steve Owens has the touchdowns, 57.
Steve Owens also has the 100-yard games at 23.
Yeah, but you've got P. Ryan, Sims, Joe Washington, Adrian Peterson. I would not have Adrian Peterson number one. So
really, because if Adrian Peterson,
he's at that freshman record. He was a true freshman out there putting up 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, I would too if I had that offensive line.
Yeah, you got to remember, like Peterson did the blue shirt in the spring before it was cool. In the fall camp. Yep. It was you don't even breathe on Adrian
DeMarco
Peterson.
actually had the red jersey with the blue numbers in spring too. I remember that.
Now,
Adrian Peterson rushed for 1,900 yards as a freshman.
That man could have been a 6,000 or 7,000 yard rusher if he would have stayed at Oklahoma for 4
years. If he didn't get hurt,
well,
if he didn't have those injuries because he was carrying the team when Sam got hurt.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine in 2008 a team with DeMarco Murray and Adrian Peterson and Sam Bradford? Oh my gosh, that would have been incredible. Yeah, I try to imagine some of these teams sometimes that are just like, what was Adrian Peterson doing?
Another guy to not overlook, but certainly not in the top, probably in the top 10, but a guy who had 3 over 1,000-yard seasons, Kennedy Brooks, ended up with a pretty nice career at OU. Not saying that he's top 10, he's right there on the cusp, but another guy who gets often overlooked now. I mean, obviously fresh out of his career, but yeah.
And I don't know which one of you said Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon was good 2 years, 2,000 yards total. Talent wise, like I think he could have. I don't know. Like I just don't see him being any better than the top 5 out there. I mean, because you even talked about it.
No, he's certainly not top 10.
You got Steve Owens, Quentin Griffin. I mean, DeMarco Murray. I mean, he was so serviceable.
He has the touchdown record overall, all purpose. So.
Yeah, I mean, DeMarco Murray was just, really, and like I said, P. Ryan was, I think, just incredible. I loved watching P. Ryan.
Yep.
That's fair.
So, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up because we all got videos to make as early signing day approaches. So y'all got to make sure to tune into everybody else's channel. But Drew, go ahead and tell them where they can find you, and then we'll let Jay go.
Yeah, our YouTube channel, the Under Official Review Podcast. Me and my buddy Zach Merrill, we talk all things college football. Obviously, we get into OU and then some Ohio State stuff as Zach is a big Ohio State fan. But you can find us on all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Hit us up. We're a growing channel. We need those comments, subscriptions, views, all that good stuff. So we appreciate the support, and we love talking college football.
Yes, Aim. You can find me, Jay Smith, over at Unfair Sports. Just search for us on YouTube. And yeah, we'll be talking a lot about signing day as well. Videos galore. So as you want to get all your content information around national signing, well, the early signing days of the 21st through 23rd, join my channel as well as PG, as well as Drew. We're going to be busy. So we'll be turning them out.
Another one too, shameless plug for our boy Around the Sports, Ty, or Around the Table Sports, Ty Hayes. He might be doing a live stream tomorrow for signing day and stuff like that. So he has a lot of great content too. So
no, Ty's
keep
dead
your eyes
to
open.
me. He came to Oklahoma and didn't come to visit me, so Ty's dead to me. But hey, if y'all made it this far, just go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. As we've said it many times, it's completely free to you guys to hit that like button, but it means the world to us. So go ahead, do that. Go hit the subscribe on Drew's podcast as well. Let's get his follower count up to 500 before the end of the year. So, but thank you guys for watching. Be looking out for some more videos this week, and we'll see you guys next time.